Good
What's up,
evening.
guys?
I love when we don't practice.
I didn't know. Oh,
Me neither.
so what's going on, bud?
Nothing. I'm exhausted. My wife had a surgery last Thursday, and ever since then I've been telling people I've been 200% dead because I have to be both. And yeah, I'm dead. Plus work has gotten really weird.
Yeah, you can't find help.
Well, I can't find help, and then on top of that, I uh I am stuck, everybody. And you and I were just talking about this with the restaurant. COVID protocols are going away everywhere, including for my agency. And we have a lot of people that have been able to work remotely for the last 2 years. And all of the protocols have gone away. And basically, that means everybody can suddenly return back to the office. And there's a lot of people that are our age that don't want to go back to the office, of course, because they've proven that they don't need to. And I am on like a high level working group to figure out if we can do this with people working from home and to give our recommendations. And it's basically like a handful of us fighting a whole lot of people with this mentality of everybody has to be in the office. And it is like arguing with the brick wall, and it's stupid.
Yeah, we still haven't opened up the dining room yet, and we're about to reopen. We can't find help. And honestly, I don't blame people. Who the fuck wants to go work in the food industry?
Right.
It sucks ass. It's a thankless job. So even as someone who like is a co-owner, it's a thankless job. Um,
We've got Jeff says, "Hey, what's going on, Jeff?" And then Sardis says, "I'm guessing the top directors is going to be Tarantino for me and Kurosawa for Flip."
oh yeah,
I
you
don't know
know
if Flip is going to say anything, but I will come out right now and say wrong for me. Flip immediately left. Oh man, it seems like at least once a week he just has to just completely abandon these streams.
you know what I love more than anything is that I text everyone that usually calls me and I say, "Hey, I'm doing a podcast, don't call." And what do? They call in the middle of it. It's so nice of them. So nice. No,
All I was
Kurosawa's
saying,
not on my list.
not on your list at all.
I mean, not tonight. We're only doing what?
Okay, no, he's saying
What?
top directors.
Oh, Kurosawa's up there. Yeah, he will be up there. I think. I mean, mine's probably pretty predictable.
I was giving away that Tarantino is not my number one.
Yeah, he's not number one. He's going to be talked about tonight, but he's not.
Eric's here. What's going on, Eric? And then John comes in with the hearty unionize. And
100%.
unfortunately, I think he's talking about my remote work conversation there. And the funny thing is, I'm a federal employee, and we are unionized. So even though they negotiate that behind the scenes, first of all, I'm not allowed to be in the union because I'm an executive, but which really is stupid. It's a dumb policy. But the second thing, they have to negotiate in the union based on what our policies are, and we don't even have a policy in place for it. So we have to set a policy and then allow them to go, "No, that's a dumb policy. Let's argue about it."
See, I'm like, as much as I hate the restaurant, all that sounds like a pain. I would much
It
rather
is a
just
pain, and that's what I'm saying. I hate being a part of this right now. Like it is so stupid.
work is stupid. I wish we lived in a world where we didn't have to work. That'd be awesome.
Amen to that. Amen
I
to that.
I want to be like my dream world would be like Wally. We're all just fat, just in it. Like we can't move because we're so fat. It'd be awesome. Um,
Nice. Sardis got in the
so
Fastbender box sets.
all of them. Damn.
There's only two out so far. The third one got announced. It hasn't been released yet.
Oh, okay. Is the third one the last one then?
I think they've only confirmed 3, but I believe there's a rumor that there might be a 4th.
Have you watched anything this week? Because I watched 3 Ryan recommendations this week. I watched 14 movies
Good God.
this week.
I haven't watched
Yeah, I
14
counted.
movies in the last month, I don't think.
This is yeah. I watched all the Has Fallen movies. So Olympus, London, and Angel, all with Gerard
That
Butler.
was still only this week? Jesus Christ.
That was only this week. They're actually good movies. Like, Gerard Butler needs to be a serious candidate for modern action because he's fucking great in those movies. And I rated all of them 3 stars, and they do get progressively better as they go along. Like, the stakes get higher, the special effects get better, the action gets bigger and grander. London is probably my favorite. There was a legitimate, really cool one take in London Has Fallen where Gerard Butler and some British SAS members are fighting the terrorists in like a street, but the streets are really narrow, and it like this one take moves in and out of buildings, and it's actually like legitimately really what's the word I'm looking for? It like caught me off guard. It was like really it was really surprising. They are all American propaganda though, to the point where it's really funny. Gerard Butler is beating I think in the first one, North Koreans take over the White House, and he's beating the North Korean. He's like, you know what makes America great? And he's just like, it's all of us. And it's just like, I'm like, all right, dude. I'm like, all right. But I thought that they were going to. So there's a scene in London because it's the Middle Eastern. It's Middle Eastern terrorists this time, and they're like, I thought they were going to say something very nice. They were like, oh hey, he's pissed because we accidentally bombed his sister. She was innocent and we killed her. And I was like, oh wow, they're actually going to shed some light on some of the stuff America's done. And then they were like, but she shouldn't have been hanging around this terrorist. And it's like, all right, come on, guys. And then Night was about a privatized military group of, is it called PMC? PMC, whatever. A PMC in America is colluding with the Russians. And you know what's in that movie in 2019 they're like we should stop Russia right now. They annexed Crimea. If they keep going, they're going to take over all of Europe. And I was like, what the fuck? This movie in 2019 is already predicting what's going to happen.
Well, a lot of people were saying that when they first annexed it in 2014, 2013?
Just wild.
Like yeah.
But yeah, they're good movies. Gerard Butler is a dumb action hero, and it's fun. But I watched 3 Ryan recommendations. I watched Gerald's Game, which
talked about last week on the director's show.
That hand scene.
That's the scene that I didn't want to give away, because when you were talking about you wanted to watch it, it is one that if you knew about it going in, it would be a little less shocking.
Yeah. So before we watched it, I was reading some Letterboxd reviews and people kept mentioning the hand scene. So I knew something with the hand was coming. I did not know to what extent it was. And the special effects that they used were great. I was genuinely grossed out. I could not look. Like I have a pretty strong stomach. Like a couple weeks ago, I was watching execution videos for some reason. But for some reason, this scene with the hand made me. I was like, Taylor was like gripping onto me, going, ah! And I was like, ugh. Good movie minus the pedophilia. There is a scene where it flashbacks to her as a little girl, and she's sitting on her dad's lap, and he's literally just. That was a little too much for me. And then I watched Siege, and loved it. It's very low budget. I had to get over the gun sound effects.
Yeah.
They are, and it
goofy. Sucks because everything else is so great.
Well, the opening, I was like, man, Jesus, Ryan, what are you making me watch? It's like, hey, you faggots, we're gonna stick this pole up your ass. And I was like, oh my god, this is really offensive. And then it becomes like, I would say it's like the spaghetti Western version of Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's very low budget, very gritty. I haven't seen Assault in a while, but I really enjoyed Siege. It was just, it had a lot of charm for how little that they had to work with.
Yep.
Just So freaking. Um, and then what was the other movie I watched that you recommended me? Can you pull up my Letterboxd account for me? Um, I because there's one other one because you were 3 for 3, I think, out of
Nice.
the recommendations. Um, uh, Chester the
I have
fucking man says Ice Cube. Um, let's see. While I'll answer some comments. Sentinel says evening. We just got back from watching Mulholland Drive in the theater. Wow, awesome. The first time I saw it, it was only when it just came out on DVD a while back. Great
The
film.
Nice Guys.
Yeah, Nice Guys. That's the best recommendation that you've had so far. That movie should not be as good as it is. Gosling and Crowe, like you said, they should not have the chemistry that those two have. Like, those two seem like they're best friends.
Right.
Love that. Love that movie. It was on Hulu. Um, strongly recommend that. It's some really funny fucking moments in that movie too. And then the worst thing I watched this week was Yakuza Princess. Uh, it's so bad. It's the worst movie I've seen, possibly ever. I gave it a half a star. I would rather go through a heart attack again. I would rather have my nut explode again. I'd rather get into a car crash again than ever watch them. I'm not
That
joking.
is pretty
There is a
harsh.
really nice penis in that. There's a really nice one of the main actors, full fledged cock scene. Beautiful, beautiful penis. How about you? Did you watch anything?
I hardly watched anything this week. It was a very slow week. First one I'll bring up is I had the director of this on my show middle of last year. I watched. This is a wild cover.
It looks
Uncle
like super gay.
Sleezo's Uncle Sleezo's Toxic and Terrifying TV Hour, and this is a horror anthology film done a la WNUF, the Halloween special. They recorded commercials for it. They even there is a commercial where they made Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment playset, and they had a bunch of kids act as if they were like
Oh
having
my!
this toy, and it's so fucking funny, dude. Um, this is the special edition Blu-ray that they put out. It is autographed by a couple of the people from the movie, and then there's an actual screen use swatch from the costume that came with it. Really neat. The director is supposed to be coming back on my show soon, so keep an eye out for Lucky Cerruti. That guy is great. The movie overall really fun. The cheesy aspect of the commercials and all that was really cool. One of the best things is if you've been a fan of his for a while, they cut in things that alluded to his previous films. So he's got a movie where this couple goes to find where their wedding venue is going to be, and they're staying at an Airbnb, and they get fucking kidnapped and murdered in an Airbnb. And in this movie, a little commercial pops up and says something like, back on at 11, police are still looking for a couple that were out looking for the wedding venue. They've been disappeared since Saturday or something like that. And it's a picture from the film, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, it's really fun. I suggest checking them out, deadvisionproductions.com. They do great stuff. The only other thing that I'm going to talk about that I watched this week was The Vigil. It is a Scream Factory physical release in the US. That movie is from 2019, and it's fairly new. It is a Jewish slow burn horror film that is really good, and unfortunately, it has the same problem as a lot of modern horror films, where they have a really good idea for a film and no fucking clue how to finish it. So the ending is pretty much MIA. It is very creepy in a few scenes, and then for a climax, it's just completely gone. There's nothing there. It's just, oh, credits, I guess. So, yeah, it's really well acted. The lead is pretty damn good. Fun movie.
Oh, I did watch Legend of the Eight Samurai, which is a Sonny Chiba film. And I want to highlight this because it's directed by Keiji Fukasaku, and it is like if Alejandro Jodorowsky directed a samurai version of Wizard of Oz on acid. It was just wild. And John says, "Oh, I forgot I saw Morbius on Friday." So that's how bad that movie is that you forgot. Um, my friend, Nick was like, "Hey, do you want to go see Morbius on Monday?" And I was like, "Dude, first off, pandemic's still going on. My wife is not going to let me go see a movie, and I wouldn't argue with her to go see Morbius of all things. Like I think I'd rather get COVID than watch Morbius at this point. Of how bad it is. It's got like a 1.8 on Letterboxd.
Although
Sometimes you see stuff like that and you're like, is it bad?
critics
Is it that
bombed
bad?
it, but a lot of people that actually saw it that are fans were like, it's not, the worst thing ever, but it's not amazing.
Uh, I'm uh, I'm sad about Jared Leto, man. He's a great actor. He keeps taking bad roles. Um, Speaking of great actors, we just lost one yesterday. Jimmy Wang Yu passed away at 79. Uh, his daughter announced it on Facebook. You know what's crazy is I emailed her 2 weeks ago, said I want to do a book on your dad. She responded,
Jeez.
but now that looks like that's probably not ever going to happen. And it sucks because a lot of stories about the industry are going to die with that man. He was, I think, people are going to argue, Bruce Lee, blah, blah, blah. I think Jimmy Wang Yu is the most important actor to come out of Hong Kong. Period. Um, yeah, just what a legend. He broke box office records with One Armed Swordsman, directed by Chang Che. Prior to that, I was talking to Ryan about this. Prior to that, all of the wuxia films, most of them, like the big box office hits, were women dressed up as men. And then Chang Che wanted to do a gritty wuxia film. He picked Jimmy Wang Yu. He had been in, I think, 2 or 3 films prior to One Armed Swordsman. But when that came out, it just blew up. He became the biggest star. And then he fought tooth and nail. He was a star. He was in Golden Swallow. Uh, he was in the One Armed Swordsman 1 and 2, Triple Lotus. Massive star, the biggest star in Hong Kong at the time. But he wanted to actually direct the film, and he tried. And Run Shaw said, "No, you're an actor. You're not going. We're not going to put you behind the camera." So he writes and directs The Chinese Boxer, and he fought tooth and nail to get that film made. He finally gets it made, and it was the first kung fu film. Prior to that, it was all swordplay wuxia films. But what made his film so, I think, stand out is that he was such a fan of Japanese films. Like he was a fan of the Zatoichi series, of Akira Kurosawa. So if you notice, a lot of his films are very like a very horizontal, which is how Japanese films are shot. Because a lot of Japanese architecture is very small, very long. So a lot of these shots, like if you watch Chinese Boxer, there's some beautiful shots in the snow. Like it looks like a samurai. But he wasn't an actual trained martial artist in the sense of the word. Like he didn't become a kung fu master or anything. He was just a street fighter that became an action star. And he was a real tough guy. I mean, he got into brawls with the mafia, with the actual triads where people died. He got stabbed like 20 times eating dinner one time outside because a triad group put a hit on him, and he fucking lived. But Bruce Lee saw Chinese Boxer and said, went to the head of Golden Harvest and said, "I want to be bigger than Jimmy Wang. I want what he has." So I mean, Bruce Lee's first movie is almost a direct copy of the Chinese Boxer. Sadly, Bruce got huge in the States, and rightfully so. I mean, Bruce is he's a very charismatic person, and I think he has a good a good screen presence for Western audiences to latch onto. Jimmy Wang Yu was very just like I just love his look. Like Wang Yu's look is just like he's stoic, he's just a badass. He has this screen presence, but after One Armed Swordsman and a few other movies, and after Chinese Boxer, Shaw Brothers treated him like shit. So he broke his contract and went to Golden Harvest, and they actually went to court. It was Shaw and Jimmy Wang Yu, and he was banned from making movies in Hong Kong for like a couple years. like completely. He could not work in the mainland or Hong Kong. Um, so he went to Taiwan, made One Arm Boxer, which is a huge international hit. Then he made the sequel, Masters of the Flying Guillotine, which is funny because at the time, right a couple years before, Flying Guillotine had come out. It was a huge hit, and Shaw was used to cranking out sequels to their films, but they could the actors didn't want to make a sequel. The guy who made Flying Guillotine was caught up in some other projects. So Jimmy Wang Yu took the fucking success of his former employer and capitalized on it and made Master of the Flying Guillotine, which is one of the most beloved cult classic films of all time, of any genre. It's beloved. And then he went and directed my personal favorite work of his, Beach of the War Gods, which is a pretty much a retelling of uh, Seven Samurai. And then, I mean, also without Jimmy Wang Yu, we wouldn't have Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan was in a really bad contract with the Triads. The Triads ran the whole movie industry back in the day. So Jackie Chan was in a contract that he didn't want to be in, and Jimmy Wang Yu went to the Triads, ripped the contract in front of him. There was a scuffle, there was some fighting, but he ended up getting Jackie out of that contract. And Jackie's career from that point exploded. Jackie appeared in, I think, like, he appeared in one film with Jimmy Wang Yu, which is Killer Meteors. And then he appeared in like 4 movies that Jimmy Wang Yu produced as a thank you. So, yeah, without Jimmy Wang Yu, we wouldn't have had Bruce Lee. We wouldn't have Kung Fu cinema as we know it. And we wouldn't have the Jackie Chan that we have today. So, sadly, he passed away. And he was a real gangster. He was in the Triads. He was another great movie of his, Man from Hong Kong. Apparently, he was an asshole to work with. He didn't get calm until his older age, which I feel like a lot of guys like that usually do.
Right.
Someone on Facebook, I don't know if it was Mike Leader or one of those guys who works in the Hong Kong industry. I read a thing he posted is that they had licensed. It wasn't Mike Leader. It was the guy who runs Eastern Heroes, the magazine. Can't think of his name. Ricky Baker, I think. They had licensed a couple of his movies, and when they went to his office, in his room, he had $1 million of gold bars behind him in a showcase, like in a glass showcase, just because he fucking could, he's Jimmy Wang Yu. But yeah, his final role that I really like, he was in a horror movie, his final role, but the final martial arts movie is a movie called Dragon with Donnie Yen, and Donnie Yen plays a one-armed swordsman, and Jimmy Wang Yu plays a badass. He's like 60-something in that film. But what I love about him is that he was true to himself, even his faults. A lot of actors at a certain point at the height of their careers bend the knee to China. Donnie Yen's done it. Jackie Chan's done it. There's only a handful of people that you can say haven't done it. Chow Yun-fat's one of them. Chow Yun-fat said he was pro Hong Kong, and then China just was like, "Oh, you're banned," but he was such a big name, you can't really It's like banning Jackie Chan. You can't ban Jackie Chan. So he still gets roles like every once in a while, but Jimmy Wang Yu was like, "All right, fuck you. I hate this country. I hate this government. Go into fucking Taiwan. See you guys later," and stayed true to himself. So, rest in peace to him. Absolute legend. One of the
Super
most
prolific. Had almost 90 acting credits. Had a lot less, but still did a lot of directing credits.
Well, there's only, a lot of them are kind of
like a handful of good ones, basically.
Great ones.
He acted in 6 different decades, which a lot of people cannot say.
Yeah, wild. That's what 6 decades. That's fucking wild.
What's crazy, there is a full decade in the middle of that he didn't do a damn thing in. It could have been 7 decades. He didn't do anything from 2000 to 2009.
This is also how tough he was. He had a stroke about a decade ago. He had a stroke. Lost sense of his right arm. His daughter was supposed to be driving him to his doctor's appointments. He wouldn't tell her when his appointments was, and he would drive himself. He's a fucking maniac. He's just a wild guy. He's just, man, what a guy. And I've said before on the show, if you guys have been watching, he was always my Jackie Chan. He was my Bruce Lee. He is my favorite martial arts actor. And now with him passing, my 3 favorite martial arts, samurai actors, kung fu actors, they're dead. Thomas Saburo Wakayama died before I was like probably like one. Sonny Chiba died last year, and now Jimmy Wang Yu. So
all that's left for
done.
you is Sammo Hung.
Yeah. I mean, Sammo Hung is literally the only one left for real. So all my heroes are dead. It's great.
Here's for Jimmy.
I'm gonna watch one of your movies for the 10,000th time, Jimmy. Don't worry.
And keep in mind, lots of stuff from Jimmy Wang Yu coming out. The movie with Jackie Chan that Flip just mentioned, that's coming out from 88 Films this year. Eureka is still putting out stuff with him. There's all kinds of stuff out there with the resurgence that we've had over the last year and a half. There's a lot of ways to beef up on his filmography.
You know what? Whenever he died, I was saying I hope he starts to get the credit he deserves, because he doesn't. Like when people talk about great kung fu actors, no one really brings them up. But again, every single post I've seen from these big wigs in Hong Kong, they have to mention Bruce Lee. They have to mention. They're like, oh, he was a big star until Bruce Lee came in. It's like,
right.
Shut the fuck up about Bruce Lee for 2 minutes. All right, Jimmy Wang Yu is the most important person, in my opinion. Region A for Jimmy Wang Yu from 88 Films. I don't know if they announced if Killer Meteors will be Region A.
I believe it is.
It is? All right. But I do hope more companies start snagging up some of his films. After Sonny Chiba died, I was expecting a ton of announcements, but we haven't got shit. And Sonny Chiba was in a bunch of stuff. So, big sad.
A lot of people have been posting. There's obviously a lot of people that have appreciated him, and again, it's a big name to lose.
Big name, massive name. I can't believe he was only. 80. He's basically 80. That's a long life. He lived a wild life. The dude was a legit.
For everything he did, 80 is like stupid that he lived that long.
Yeah, he was a legitimate gangster. Imagine Jackie Chan being like, "Hey, will you go talk to the triads for me?" And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." And it was just fucking so awesome. What a guy. What a badass.
I wanted to point out, Sardis said, I watched so many films this week that I can't remember their titles. I used to keep a log, but stopped years ago. I saw 3 today, but I only remember 12 O'Clock High and Night People with Gregory Peck. And I wanted to remind people, if you don't use it, Flip just mentioned Letterboxd. It's such an easy way. You don't have to rate anything. You don't have to review it. You can just log that you watched it, even.
Yeah, Stardust, please get a Letterboxd. I would love to see what you watch. So awesome.
And almost like 99.5% of all films are in there. So as long as you just start searching for it, you can mark it as logged. And if you're not watching bootleg Shaw Brothers titles, what you're watching is probably in Letterboxd.
I have about 10 samurai movies that are not on Letterboxd that I have to manually put.
And Eric's here too. He just commented for the first time. He says he uses an Excel schedule. I always laugh when Eric references back to his Excel, because it's clear he uses just the most meticulous notes, and I get so jealous because I'm like, I really wish I could do that and write down like all of my exact feelings, what I noticed, what popped out, track directors, all that fun stuff. That's awesome, Eric.
Eric's also awesome because if there's a movie I want to watch and I just YouTube like review, usually like 99% of the time Eric's got his thoughts on it, and I'm like, fuck yeah. Eric's channel is has he cost you money?
So much money.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. Do you want to talk about directors now? We're doing 7 through 5, right?
7 through 5 today. We did 10 through 8 last week. Shit, where did I put my paper? To remind, there it is. My 10 through 8 was Linklater. 9 was Tim Burton, and 8 was Mike Flanagan. Do you remember yours?
No. Mine were probably. Hang on, let me think. I actually don't know at all.
All right. You want me to go first this week, or do you want to go first?
Yes, you go first.
All right. So my number 7 is one that some people that have followed for a long time might be surprised that it's not higher up on my list. Kind of like Sardis guessed Tarantino would be my number 1. This is not Tarantino, but my number 7 is let's share this screen first. Edgar Wright.
Now this
love
is a
Edgar
lot
Wright.
lower than I expected.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Again, these are what I would say my list of favorites, not best, because a couple of these would be higher if I was saying best for sure. And I picked 3 to highlight from him tonight. The first one is the most underrated film in his filmography, I think. The World's End. Now that I'm older and separated from Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, I think The World's End, hot take for a lot of people that really treasure those first 2, I think this might be the best film of the trilogy. The fact that Simon Pegg gets completely flipped from the protagonist to essentially the antagonist of the film, it really pissed a lot of people off, and I think it drove him away from this movie. But the way that he is able to subvert the expectations and come across as this absolute dick in this movie is so great. And not to mention the story is fun. Just a tight-knit group of friends that have grown apart, and they come back to go on essentially a pub crawl, and it turns into something just ridiculously stupid. And it's great. It is so well acted. It is fun as hell. It goes wild. I mean, John says, I tried to drink along with them during at World's End and I got trashed, and you absolutely will. This is a really fun movie that not a lot of people pay attention to because the first 2 overshadowed it. And I'm not taking away from the first 2 at all. They're great. But honestly, I kind of wish Edgar had waited until now to do Shaun of the Dead. The abilities that he's developed throughout the last, God, what year did that come out? Like 2004?
I want to say 4. Yeah, 4.
Almost 20 years later, what he could do after everything he's honed. Well, let's talk about stuff that he's honed then, because one of the other ones that I want to talk about came about the midway point of his career, and that is another favorite of mine, and we've talked about it on the show previously, but that is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This is one of the best comic book movies of all time. Really incredible cast, a lot of them appearing in this before they broke out, and just when you're watching this with 2022 eyes, it is shocking that they're all in the same movie together. Really, really well acted. Absolutely fun take on the comic book genre, where it actually blends the page and cinema in a way that is I almost use the word realistic, but it's kind of the opposite of that. It's like comic book realistic. It takes the page and puts it on screen in a way that most comic book films don't even try to do. And Michael Cera is an insufferable jerk in most movies, but he is perfect in this. And that's because this is the movie that takes his like shy guy mentality and fits him into this perfect position. And yeah, he's great in this. Everybody else just knocks this film out of the park. But
honestly, top 3 best comic book movies.
Oh, agreed, easily. The big thing though that you can really see is the directing in this movie. The editing, the writing is snappy. Every single soundtrack for Edgar Wright is top notch.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Speaking of that, I don't necessarily want to say that this is my top film from him, but I will say that it is dangerously close to being listed as that. If you haven't seen Last Night in Soho yet, you absolutely need to. This movie is amazing, and it got overlooked for so many different reasons, but I think the main thing is people thought Edgar Wright in terms of the snappy editing that he's been known for, and they heard that it was an Edgar Wright horror film, and it wasn't quite that. It's a kind of slow, surreal, psychological horror, and it's done so perfectly, and it really is a showcase of his camera work, his directing, the acting that they pull off in this film, and it is so damn good. I am like almost angry to the point that this obviously I don't really care about the Oscars, but nobody even considered this genuinely for anything, and it's so great. Last Night in Soho is so damn close to being my favorite film from last year. There's a handful I still need to watch, but this movie was great. I can't really say a whole lot more than gush about this film. Again, music is top notch. The costume work in this, over the top, great. The way they blend two different fields of time in a way that makes sense, and then the ending came out of nowhere. That makes sense with the rest of it, and it's just it is hard to explain without seeing it. This movie is incredible,
and it's got Anna Joy Taylor,
and she killed it in that film.
Well, I agree. I think Edgar Wright, even though he's not in my top 10, is a director that no matter what he puts out, I'm gonna go see. Like, it's a handful of directors that I get excited for. Him, Tarantino, Paul Anderson, PTA, and I think that's really truly it at this point. Like, those three are, like, I think the best living working directors. So I'm gonna see Last Night in Soho. You didn't mention Baby Driver.
It's not top 3 for him for me. Baby Driver, I think, is an amazing movie, but that really speaks to the strength that he has in his filmography, because Baby Driver is a great crime heist amazingness, and obviously it's a little tainted with Kevin Spacey being a huge part of it, but still, rewatching it now, it is so well done, and the music in that film, that alone shows his ability to direct because of how much that took. He just absolutely crafted something that when you watch it, it seems impossible that everything is so perfect.
Now we have John and John, both Johns, talking about how we were robbed of his Ant-Man, and I gotta say, I'm kind of glad he didn't do Ant-Man, because I want to see him without any restraints on. I want to see him do what he wants to do, not what a studio wants to do.
Right.
So I'm actually glad, because I mean, he didn't work on Ant-Man, and we ended up getting Baby Driver and Last Night in Soho out of him. So
I got to admit, I'm sure it would have been a lot of fun, but
it would have been a lot of fun. Yeah,
it would have started him down a very different path.
Exactly, and I don't want directors of that caliber getting stuck in franchises that are.
And there's a few that have pulled that off, and I'm gonna mention one right now that is gonna be a little
not say Ryan Johnson.
A little hot take for people, but I think James Wan is kind of proving that he can do that, because he did Aquaman, and Malignant fucking rocked.
Malignant was. After the second watch, I was like, all right, this movie fucking slaps. This movie is so good.
It's obvious that it's something that he can come back to, because it is such a dumb personal take on a type of film that if it wasn't something he wanted to do, it never would have been made. Nobody else was looking to make Malignant. It is clear that this was James Wan's film. That's a hard name to say. James Wan's film.
I'm so glad they did not put any of the twist in the advertisement. I am so fucking glad, because when I first saw the movie, I was like, stupid. And then when that thing happened, I was like, what? I want a whole movie of this. This is awesome. Yeah, just great. And James Wan, even though I'm not a big horror guy, even though I keep saying that, I keep watching fucking horror movies and really liking them. So
you're welcome.
Thanks, Ryan.
I'll agree with John here. He says Alfonso Cuarón is another one. He did the third Harry Potter movie, and arguably it's looked at as one of the best Harry Potter films, and he has recovered from that and done great things after. So,
yeah. My number 7 is Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, he's low on the list, just because a lot of I feel like Quentin and I have a lot of same tastes. Like, you're gonna see directors that
he's talking about feet.
Actually, you know what? I'm not a big feet guy. I'm not. I've never looked. Have I sucked toes? Yes, absolutely. But I've never looked at a.
Who among us haven't?
There's a couple people in the chat that I would bet have not sucked toes before. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of my higher picks are gonna be directors that Tarantino has directly ripped off of.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's and, and it's just, hey, there's a couple wops on my there's a couple wops later on. So I think so far my list has had what, two white people. So yeah, uh, he's 10% Asian. Toe Jam is sexy, says Eric. Uh, um, but yeah, I Tarantino is, I think, our generation's gateway to cinema outside of the U.S. Like, I think he is like, you go to his movies, you see Kill Bill for the first time, and you're like, okay, what is this logo at the beginning? Because it introduces itself as a Shaw Brothers movie. You're like, what is up with this fight at the end? And you find out it's directly lifted from Lady Snowblood, and you're just like, what is this? If what is this inspiration? What is this inspiration? I'll never forget the first time I saw Kill Bill. I was young. I was at my grandmother's house. My uncle owned it, and my mom told my uncle, "Hey, don't let him watch it." And he was like, and I watched it, loved it, just was blown away. I watched it over and over and over again. I have a bootleg copy of The Whole Bloody Affair, which is great, and that's, if you count Kill Bill 1 and 2 as one movie, that's my favorite movie. I It's just thrilling. I mean, and I feel like that movie breaks boundaries because my parents don't normally like that kind of stuff. They watched it because it's a Tarantino movie and they loved it. Taylor thought it was going to be an overtly sexual movie about women. It's not. She loved it. She was like, "Wow, this is actually a really empowering movie as a girl, like as a female."
I would say, other than Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I think that Kill Bill Volume 1 is the most influential female action movie of the 21st century.
100% agree. 100% agree.
And what sucks is everybody looks at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as a Chow Yun Fat movie, when in all reality, it's not. He was the face of the marketing.
I mean, if you're completely forgetting Jolt with Kate Beckinsale that came out last year. You forgot that masterpiece. No, I mean, I can't think of another movie besides Atomic Blonde that I was like, wow, that's actually a good female, female-led action movie. But Kill Bill is just so fucking good. It's a mixture of samurai movies, a mixture of kung fu movies, a mixture of spaghetti westerns, and it's in this fucking blender, and it's all messed up. I mean, the movie that the daughter is watching,
even got a lot of blaxploitation in it.
A lot of blaxploitation, which we'll talk about in a second, because
Pussy Wagon, look at that.
Jackie Brown. Dude, that's such. Is that in a Lady Gaga video? That's like an iconic truck now. I just love that movie to pieces. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Top 10 for me. Saw Kill Bill Volume 1 in the movies probably 10 times as a 15-year-old. John, I'm jealous, man. That is such a cool thing to see awesome. Over and over again. But yeah, the first time you see Volume 1, and then you see Volume 2, and you're like, oh, totally, it's different. It's very different. But it's still such a good movie. But yeah, when that movie came out, I think it changed everything. It made me open my eyes to a whole world of films I've never known before. The movie that the daughter is watching at the very end of that movie is Shogun Assassin. And it's awesome. My second favorite Tarantino movie is Jackie Brown. I love that smaller scale story. It's a blaxploitation movie. It's got a really funny performance by Robert De Niro. He's just fucking hilarious in that movie. Samuel Jackson's great in that movie. But just the whole cast is great. I mean, you can say that about any Tarantino movie. The whole cast is great. But that movie specifically, I think it's overlooked. I think it's like Death Proof is probably his most overlooked, because a lot of people don't get what it's going for. And then I think it's Jackie Brown.
Well, and the hard part, it is overlooked, but really, I would say outside of like film Twitter and actual Tarantino fans, nobody talks about Jackie Brown. It's not even just overlooked. Like, it's not even in the book.
Yeah, it's great. I have watched that movie probably 30 times. But my number one and my all-time favorite, Inglourious Basterds. I don't think he has topped himself with that. One of my favorite theater experiences ever. I've told this story before. I don't know what my parents, because my parents and I've never had days off where it's like line like we're doing stuff. But we're like, we're out to eat. You want to go see Inglorious Bastards? Who's in that? I'm like, oh, it's a Tarantino movie. My parents know who that is. They're like, oh, Pulp Fiction. We love that movie. We go and see it. John says, I love Jackie Brown so much. I got Pam Grier to sign the one sheet. Pam Grier,
That is incredible.
incredible. But yeah, we're sitting there in the movie theater in that scene right there. When that opening scene happens, the tension in that scene is so palpable. Like you can just fucking taste it. And then at the end of the movie, the entire theater stood up and gave a standing ovation. No one was there. It was just like we just did it to the screen. And then my mom and dad talked about that movie for weeks after. So many memorable moments, so many memorable lines. What's crazy is that Brad Pitt is billed as the star of that movie.
And they're really hardly in it at all.
But man, so just the way they pronounce Italian words, I think Tarantino knew what he was doing because that normally that would piss off Italians. Like when people are like "Buongiorno," you'd be like, "Oh, it's fucking terrible." But you're watching it and you're just trying so hard not to laugh. Like I was dying when he was like "Margherita," like just Dominic the Cucco. Like that guy says it perfectly.
I love that it's Brad Pitt and Eli Roth making fun of Italians.
Yeah, and then Brad Pitt he's got this look. He looks like he's in pain the whole movie. He's like, just great. What a great revisionist World War II. Like just a complete masterpiece of a movie. And I think the things he's done after that, Django's great, Hateful Eight's great, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is great. But for me, those three, technically four, two, those three movies are my absolute favorites of his. John says Glorious Bastards is just Tarantino showing off. As Pitt says, it just might be his masterpiece. Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Death Proof is underrated.
Absolutely underrated.
I don't think Death Proof is a bad movie at all. I think that's a great film.
But the best way to watch it is as the Grindhouse experience. To watch 100%. All of it together.
That specifically is maybe my all-time favorite theater experiences. I was 15. A delivery driver who was a friend took me to go see it at midnight. And, all I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? Planet Terror blew my mind. Werewolf Women of the SS, Machete, all this shit. I was like, thanks, killing. I was like, what the fuck? And then Death Proof comes. And I'm like, after the movie was over, I was like, wait, that was a slasher flick. But not like, oh, you don't know who the killer is. You know the killer is the whole time. You know how he's doing it, his motive. And I think that kind of adds to attention in a different way. It's like a revisionist slasher film. Like he's just taking all the tropes, flipping them on their head, and I think he does a great job. I think Kurt Russell is fucking great in that movie. In that cast of women, killer movie. Love it.
Agreed. I wanted to answer a question from up above first. Flex asked me, hey, Ryan, was Scream 2022 any good? Thinking of picking up the Steelbook. Well, that was my only pickup for this week. I just got this in the mail today. I can't answer that because I've not watched it, and not to sound all sentimental. That is because I'm waiting to watch it with my sister, who is in Arizona, and we're going to FaceTime and watch it at the same time. And I was waiting to have the disc. So I am hopefully watching that this weekend, but everybody I trust says it's great. And not to mention, Flex mentioned the Steelbook. If you can find a copy of it, get it, because it is getting to be hard to find. And I guarantee you that means you can resell it if you hate it for probably 3 times the price in 2 weeks.
Also, if you guys don't know, the guy with the ghost faces. Spoilers. Who's your number 6?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6. My number 6 is one that, again, people might have thought was going to be a little higher for me. And this first choice is going to be probably one of the more underrated films from his career. But my number 6 is David Cronenberg. And the first movie I want to talk about is Dead Ringers. I am a huge fan of twin horror movies. And Dead Ringers is, I won't even really call it a horror movie necessarily. It's more of a drama-ish movie. I mean, Cronenberg kind of blended all the genres that he possibly could. But first off, before I dive into Dead Ringers, I love Cronenberg for a handful of reasons. One is I adore practical effects, and you can't talk about good practical effects without bringing up David Cronenberg. I mean, this is the guy who, in his breakout film, has a vagina under somebody's armpit that comes out and stabs people, basically. That's from Rabid, by the way, for those of you that have not seen it. Dead Ringers is really good. It is odd, to say the least. The acting in this film is great. This is one of the earliest instances of using the camera trickery to have somebody appear as if they are two different twins, and it's literally just played by one actor. And it is like for many other directors, this would be their masterpiece. It is that good. I would say Crash would probably be listed as the same thing for a lot of other directors, that it's that good that it would be their masterpiece. But Dead Ringers is perfectly stated from Jeff here. It is disturbing and then depressing. It is a movie that takes you through a wide range of emotions. Not my favorite, but I think it's one of his most underrated films. And one that is probably his best film of all time, which anybody following along at home that knows Cronenberg would probably agree. I think by a long shot, his best film is The Fly. This is a movie. Well, we're gonna have different feelings here because you are
Fly is great though. Fly is great though. My mom showed me that movie very young.
You are not a horror fan at heart, and
I say that, but I think I am.
By the way, when I said his masterpiece, we already had two people immediately say The Fly. I know what you're going to say. And speaking of, Eastern Promises available in 4K from Kino now.
Who says I was going to say Eastern Promise?
You.
I was going to say Scanners.
The Fly is obviously one of the best made films of all time. It is played by Jeff Goldblum in a way that is a legendary performance. The practical effects in this are like stupid disgusting. The fact that he is pulling pieces off of himself in the bathroom and ending up hanging from the ceiling, acting in one of the most horrifying romantic dramedies that you'll ever discover. The relationship in this movie between Goldblum and Gina Davis is real, and the chemistry in this is depressing when they don't end up together. But the end of this movie is obviously one that is disturbing in every sense of the word, and this movie is just flat out incredible. But my favorite movie potentially by Cronenberg, which really only occurred after a rewatch last year, is probably Videodrome. I think that this movie has some of his best effects that he's ever made, and to say that, I'd probably have to just not count The Fly because it's damn near perfect. But the fact that they are showing, like, putting video cassettes into people's stomachs, and it's seamless, and the way that it's filmed is just mind-blowing for the time. The year that this was made, it should not have been as well done as it was. The cast in this is solid. Obviously, we have to ignore current James Woods, but everything else about this movie is just a great ride, and it's a very troubling movie to watch nowadays, considering how much from this has literally just come true. As we're adding to it and building content as we film this. Videodrome is one of those that you watch, what are we at, 4.5 decades later or whatever, and just sit here and wallow in what we've become. Videodrome is special.
Also, I would say it's a movie that I think would be very difficult to get made with a similar today. Because that movie, it's such a. I mean, long live the new Flesh. I love that movie so much that I've considered getting that phrase tattooed on my body.
Yep.
It's just a fucking wild movie. Just
Yeah.
when you first watch it, you're like, man, this really got made. Someone actually funded this. Crazy.
Yep. I agree.
My number
6.
6. Number 6 is the great WAP himself, Sergio Leone. He is the
Nice.
lesser of the 3 Sergio. Oh, sorry, he's the second best of the 3 Sergio. Sergio Cabrón is he's all right, but yeah, Sergio. I love him. I think the Dollars trilogy is fantastic. I just rewatched Once Upon a Time in the West last night, and I am reminded by just how incredible of a filmmaker he was. I mean, his movies are probably the biggest budget spaghetti westerns. I would bet to say that they are. I don't think anyone was making movies with that kind of a budget, or that type of movie with that kind of a budget. The Dollars trilogy re-energized Eastwood's career, and it's wild to me that this guy started directing movies, I believe in his 40s, and made only a handful of films, and all of them besides was a Colossus, his first movie. You take that out of the equation. From that point on,
He needed a warm up. That's it.
That's true. Every movie following that is a near masterpiece. I think Duck You Sucker, it gets highly overlooked. And then Once Upon a Time in America is like, it's like Godfather, and then that as like the crime epic. That is a incredible film. But I do think his best movie is Once Upon a Time in the West. Henry Fonda is incredible. Charles Bronson is incredible. Charles Bronson was supposed to be in the Dollars trilogy. He's supposed to be Eastwood's part. Turned it down, said the script wasn't good enough. And I was like, really, Bronson? Really? Some of your career choices? That's your, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I can watch his movies any day, anytime. They're just beautifully shot. The scene towards the beginning of Once Upon a Time in the West, where the family's outside getting like a meal prepared, and you just hear gunshots, people are dying, and then they step from the bushes, 2 guys, and another guy steps out, and then the 4th guy appears. And Henry Fonda is just fucking so good. And then that final showdown, and, Henry Fonda, I forgot what his character's name is, and then Harmonica is beautiful. And then also that song that Charles Bronson's always playing with his harmonica is iconic. If I have to rate his movies, I think it would be Once Upon a Time in the West, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and then Duck. So those are my 3 favorites from him. I wish we got better releases of his movies. We've gotten 4Ks, that's fine. We got the pack from Kino, which is what I have over there. But I want like a big special edition of like a box set of his films. He deserves it. It's fucking Sergio Leone. So yeah, that's my number 6. One of the only white guys on this list.
Maybe someday we'll get something like that. I think that and we've talked about this before, but it sucks that a lot of these directors' work will never be able to be box set tized, if we can verb that now, just because of the way the studios bicker with each other. But at the same time, now that Universal has lessened on things, Sony's lessened on some things, even Paramount is licensing things out. Now that people are starting to realize, or not realize, but give up their stranglehold on physical media, it's possibly more of a chance eventually. Who knows? I can't imagine like a Cronenberg box set.
That would be wild.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised they didn't do History of Violence and Eastern Promises. That would have been like a great double pack.
I agree.
But yeah, Eastern Promises. Fuck.
I agree.
The only thing I just want to say about Cronenberg real quick, I love Cronenberg. He is one of the best directors ever. The only thing I don't like about Eastern Promises is that the gore scene, the barbershop, it looks like it belongs in Videodrome, or it looks like it belongs in a different movie, because it's like, and then his son's movie, Possessor.
Possessor is great.
it feels like a perfect continuation of that style of Cronenberg.
It's a more modernized Cronenberg, and it's great.
Yep.
And it's weird that we speak like that, you know, making it sound like he's gone, because he's still making movies and hopefully about to make another great one.
Is he got one in the pipe?
And let me pull up, if you have not heard about this real quick. He is making one with the same title as one of the films that he did really early in his career, which is not going to be confusing in any way. He is making, let's see, under director, Crimes of the Future, which he had a movie come out in 1970 that was also called Crimes of the Future. And this film is completed already. And the stars for this: Viggo Mortensen,
Oh, okay.
Scott Speedman, and the big star, Kristen Stewart.
What's it about?
The synopsis is only listed as a deep dive into the not-so-distant future in which humankind is learning to adapt to its synthetic surroundings. This evolution moves humans beyond their natural state and into a metamorphosis which alters their biological makeup. And from what I've heard about it, does it say here? Yes. So it gets down below, it gets added to this synopsis, and it says, while some embrace the limitless potential of transhumanism, others attempt to police it. Either way, accelerated evolution syndrome is spreading fast. Saul Tenser is a beloved performance artist who has embraced this new state, sprouting new and unexpected organs in his body. Along with his partner Caprice, Tenser has turned the removal of these organs into a spectacle for his loyal followers to marvel at in real-time theater. But with both the government and a strange subculture taking note, Tenser is forced to consider what would be his most shocking performance of all.
Removing his penis.
No, removing new organs. So with it being a Cronenberg, you know it's going to be wild.
I can't wait. When's that coming out?
It should, I believe it's supposed to be coming out like fall.
Damn. Didn't even know that there was a new Cronenberg and it's already completed. That's great.
Already completed. And there is, nothing listed for release date yet. But it was filmed in Greece. That doesn't help anything.
That shithole country? Everyone, see, Ryan's just like, can we say that? Yes.
No, you're Italian. I expected it.
Yeah, they're the, they're only the birthplace of democracy and civilization.
John wants to know, here's a good debate question: which is your favorite movie in the sex with a car genre, Crash or Titans? He means Titans. He means Titan. Damn autocorrect, John.
I think Crash is a sexier movie.
I think Crash is I don't know. Titan kind of hit me.
Titan did not make me question stuff the way.
Well, I wasn't going to rate it based on the sexiness level. I think is a better film. I think they are very different, but I think
they're both good. They're both great.
I think Titan would actually probably be higher on my list nowadays.
Crash of the Titans, says Eric. Oh man, Crash of the Titans. Yeah, I don't know. Crash was just wild the first time I saw it. I was like, what the fuck is this movie?
It's an insane movie the first time, especially with that cast.
Titan is, I would say, less crazy. Like, the whole premise is fucking bonkers, but there's only two really wild scenes, and it's when she's fucking the car and when she gives birth to the car baby. That's it. The whole movie of Crash by Cronenberg is wild. Just wild. Man, Too Short's Fuck My Car. What are we on, number 5 now?
Oh, God, yeah. All right, number 5. We have talked about this one countless times on the show. And in fact, I would not be surprised if it was also your number 5, but I think you said the lone white guy, so I think that would cross it out on your list. My number 5 is Denis Villeneuve. I think that Arrival is a good place to start. So,
Ooh, good
uh,
pick.
Arrival is one that is kind of overshadowed by his recent stuff. I think that this is a very well cast film, first and foremost. Amy Adams absolutely kills this. Jeremy Renner probably has my second favorite performance of his, perhaps.
What's
It
your
does
what's your number one of this?
28 weeks later.
Wait, Jeremy Renner's in 28 Weeks Later?
Yep.
Okay. Did not know that.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker's good in this. I think that this movie is like the film bro version of I Saw It Coming nowadays. They claim to be able to have telegraphed everything about this movie. Either way, this movie is beautiful to marvel at. It is a really tight script for the most part. There's a couple small, like, if you want to make it a plot hole, you could list that it's a plot hole, but overall it's really well done. It is feasible in some semblance of the way that they are looking at things. It's in like the sci-fi sense, it's semi-feasible. It is a really, I don't know. It's one of those rare films that feels like a mid-budget film, but also epic in scope, and they accomplish that because it's kind of like a very few set of locations, but filmed in a way that makes it look huge and incredible. Arrival is special. It is a movie that I left feeling like sadly hopeful, which is an odd way to put that, but yeah, Arrival is fun. It's fun on rewatch. It's a rough first watch, but on rewatch, it is a lot of fun. My second movie, I think, is his most overlooked movie, and Stendhal just brought that up, and that is Enemy. I think that Enemy is probably my second favorite movie of his entire filmography. I think that it is played by Jake Gyllenhaal fantastically. It is, again, I mentioned twin movies and being fascinated with those. This is a similar type of idea. It's sort of like a doppelganger film. Enemy just hit me right the first time I watched it. It is obviously much smaller in scope, but it is one that you really feel the roots of what he was going to be able to accomplish. And it is astonishing what this movie is able to pull off in such a short amount of time. The way I cared about some of these characters, I did not expect as this movie was progressing, and by the end, I was just 100% in. It was great. And speaking of being 100% in, there is no other film of his that I could list as my favorite, which is probably going to piss Flip off because it's not Sicario. But I think Prisoners is and
That's my
always will
favorite
be
of his.
his masterpiece.
That's my favorite of his. That movie is just captures. I watched that right after my uncle lost his dog, and Hugh Jackman captures that emotion, that emotional roller coaster perfect. Like it's just it. That's my favorite movie for. I mean, a very specific reason. My family lost a fight.
Yep.
But goddamn, the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal didn't get nominated for that role is a crime.
It being a fairly modern movie, it is a little long in the tooth, but I don't think I was bored for a split second during this film. I don't even know what I necessarily would cut, because the longer this goes on, the more emotionally impacted you are in literally every single scene. Again, this cast is stupid good. I mean, Paul Dano, Melissa Leo, Terrence Howard, Viola Davis, and then obviously Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal absolutely crush it. Yeah, Denis is amazing. Period.
I do think it's his best movie. I think Dune is just style over substance until the second.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's a good top three. I would exchange Enemy with Arrival, but yeah.
John says, I'm surprised by the newer directors on my list, and I got to be honest. When I was listing out my favorites, I was joking with Flip about this last time. I was trying to list my top 10, and as usual, I came up with like 23 that I had to whittle down. And the ones that I listed as my top, they were more modern. And the reason I think that is because the ones that were more prolific in the 60s through 90s, they had maybe some higher highs, but also much lower lows for the most part. And I think that the money issue for a lot of people nowadays has made people make some better choices. And in a lot of situations, that means that they have limited the number of things that they can create, yes, but also it has made them make choices that allowed them to be potentially more creative. Now we just need that with the hat from last week.
Do we have it nearby? I do not see it. Oh wait, I do see it. One second.
But I will
I found
say
the hat.
we have 4 picks left, and they're not all modern for me. They
I don't think any of mine. I don't think any of mine are modern. None. So,
a
but
lot of mine still are.
me and you are very opposite because most of my choices are all older movies.
Right. And Sardis says taste also changed through the years, which quite obviously, yes, they do. I mean, years ago, I probably would have only picked modern directors. There's also a time where I probably only would have picked directors that were like literally only making movies in the 80s because I was so attached to that decade. But nowadays, trying to broaden the horizons that I've set for myself is something, where I watch, uh, where did I even put it? A trashy anthology film from a brand new director. I will watch that right after watching like Mad Dog Morgan from Dennis Hopper from decades ago, and I really try not to go back to back with very similar things too often, and it's I don't know.
Me and you are completely opposite in our viewing habits.
Yep.
Very opposite.
Yeah.
Which I think what makes this show so great.
Right. And a big part of mine, not only for things like this, but also with my wife, because my wife gets bored very easy. So I try to, we'll watch Memories of Murder from Bong Joon-ho one week, and then we'll watch some, what I would normally call like a fluff piece from like 2020 about something I don't really want to watch, but she wants to watch, and I end up appreciating it more than I expect or something like that.
John asked, Mad Dog Morgan really good, huh? I really enjoyed it. I think it's just fascinating that someone as drunk as Dennis Hopper in that movie was able to get a movie done. For real, you watch that movie and you can tell he is fucking obliterated. And the fact that he's able to even ride a horse, be in that movie, it looks like Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. What's up? No, Mad Dog Morgan, great film. I could see why Indicator gave it the special edition. Definitely.
Yep. And then Stendhal also said, just on the last piece for what I was talking about, I've always been fascinated by doppelganger lore of how they are the opposite end of a spectrum where two copies can exist in the same plane where they meet at zero, canceling each other out where one has to die. And I gotta admit, I think that my fascination with that lore is one of the reasons why I appreciated Jordan Peele's Us more than most people. I think I like Us a lot more than Get Out. Not only because it was more kind of out there with an idea, but also just that that fascinating of a foundation is not something that was there in Get Out. Get Out was 98% realistic, basically.
I do like it. I think Get Out's his best work.
I think it is the better movie, but I say I enjoy Us a hell of a lot more.
What are we at? We're at number 5?
5 for you.
Number 5 is this little known Japanese director. Are you laughing?
This little known Japanese director that I've talked about for the last 7 months.
Okay. Who do you think it is, sir? I want to hear. Number 5, Japanese director.
Number 5. I gotta admit, I have a couple guesses, but they would probably come across as racist because I don't have their nationalities down.
Okay, just give me 2.
Let me go on IMDb real quick to see if I'm right. course, I don't know how to spell his last name. This is terrible TV. Just say it.
All right, it's Kinji Fukasaku.
I fucking should have said it. God damn
it! Were you actually gonna guess Kinji Fukasaku?
How do you spell his last name? I typed in
F-U-K. No, it's Fukasaku. Fukasaku.
God damn it! Why didn't I say it?
I
was like, I believe that name is Japanese.
He is very Japanese. Most famous here in the States for Battle Royale. I think that is not his best film. I think it's a great movie, but it's definitely his most accessible because there's a period in which he's directing films, especially his Yakuza films, which is what I love. They're very like gritty, very like almost like a documentary style. Like they're very like you feel like you're in the room, the camera's shaking. There's a lot of like just little nuances like that. I think the best place to start with him, personally, would be Graveyard of Honor. You pick up Graveyard of Honor. This is the special edition. There's a standard edition without the book. His version of this movie, which is based on a book, which was like the biography of a real life Yakuza member. This set has Fukasaku's and Mike's version in it, but Fukasaku's is just brilliant. And then his big work, like his masterpiece, like before Air. Yeah, well, no, that's his son. That's his dipshit offspring.
He is listed as the director on IMDb.
He filmed like 2 minutes of that movie.
Right.
He died. He was like, "This movie's so bad," and just like died.
Seppuku.
Prior to Arrow putting this out, this was like a coveted DVD. I think HVE. Is it HVE or is it Hy-Vee? What's that label? HVE had put this out, and it was like a beloved, coveted series. These are the movies that you would download from a torrent site and watch because they were just like stuff of legend. And that is the Battles Without Honor and Humanity set. This is the big boy special edition with the hardback book. Incredible set of films. Just absolutely incredible. That just has like the cast in these movies are just wild. Like you have everyone who's anyone in Japan at the time are in these movies. It's fucking crazy. They're all fantastic. Highly recommend you get this. But if you don't want a 5-film series, you want something that's, a little bit more digestible, New Battles Without Honor and Humanity is unconnected, just with the name. These are the last 3 that he did. There are 2 more Battles. I think there's 2 or 3 more Battles movies directed by different directors. A director did 2, and then another director did 1. But they're nowhere near as good as these movies.
These directions coming from you in that outfit is just top notch.
Yeah, it's top notch. I'm like I don't know. I don't know. I was gonna say something funny, but I couldn't think of anything funny.
Joan Rivers of cinema.
The Joan. That's a nice compliment. John says he likes Sujin Suzuki a lot. Rilton says HBE. So I was right. HBE put out Battles and Zatoichi back in the day. But yeah, Kinji is just a fantastic director. Besides these 3 box sets, Arrow put out Cops vs. Thugs, Doberman Cop, which Doberman Cop's fucking great. And then what was the other one? They put out one other film. I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
Street Mobster.
Street Mobster, that's right. Yep. So those 3 are available as singles, or you can import the UK version of the box set, which is a flimsy box. But man, it makes me sad because for a while there, we were getting so much Kinji Fukasaku from Arrow. Like we were getting releases left and right, and it makes me so happy. But now that's died down. We haven't had one since Graveyard, which was 2020. And
Battle Royale was technically last year.
Yeah, but that's like the 10th version.
Right, but I'm just saying somebody's gonna call you out on it.
Yeah, well, fuck.
The worst part, the only reason I bring that up, I don't know if you saw Arrow put up their fan voted on favorites of the year. Did you see that shit? Battle Royale was listed fan voted as their best 4K last year.
Well, Arrow fans, as we said in the past, are very stupid people. So uh, we've said that they're very
I have
mean.
never said that.
You have said that.
Not
You
like
have said
no, not like that. Arrow fans are very complaining. That's not the right way to say that. They
they're
are a
very
very complainative group of people.
yes, that's what I meant. Not stupid. That's what I meant. But yeah, I that 4K is fine, but I don't think that movie deserved a 4K because it's such a like muted color palette that it just didn't benefit
Even
from
then,
it.
like it did. I will stand up for the format and say it benefited, but they put out films last year that were way above and beyond what Battle Royale got out of the 4K. Not to
I
mention
agree.
Battle Royale, just as much as Flip just said, Battle Royale is the Evil Dead of Japanese cinema. It has the most releases of any film. It did not need another release so soon after a great release from Arrow. Not putting it down. I know that they need to make their money, and it probably sold fucking gangbusters for them.
Oh
However,
yeah,
there are so many other films that they could focus on.
there's a lot. I mean, he did a lot of like samurai movies as well. Shogun Samurai, which spawned a whole TV franchise, the Kyagu Clan series. He directed, I think, the first two episodes of that television show. Legend of the Eight Samurais. Shogun's was the fall of Akko Castle. It's a great film by him as well. He's got such a plethora of films, and then there's a lot of uh, uh, Yakuza films that are just untapped. Uh,
Right.
Proxy War, uh, just there's so many that are just untapped that I really wish Arrow or somebody would put them out because they are. He is a great director. 90 movies or something like 80 movies or no 60 because Battle Royale was his 60th film.
He has 68 films listed under director credits on IMDb.
So I think it is 60 because probably the other eight are like documentaries.
Well, even like Clock Tower 3, a video game, is listed as one. So looking at these, two are TV movies, a video game, a couple TV shows, 3 TV shows. Yeah, so it's probably almost exactly 60.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of stuff that you can pull from. He's got some early like horror-ish stuff. Uh, Crest of the Betrayal is badass. All the three different versions of Battle Royale on DVD have not gotten the Blu-ray yet. Didn't even know it got a 4K.
That's how
Under the
many
Flag.
releases it has so far.
It's got. I know for sure the DVD version, the Blu-ray, the one with the Blu-ray top with the comic book, the steel book, and then the 4K, and then the 4K standard edition.
Yep.
But yeah, Kenji Fukusaku, one of the best, one of the all-time greats. But there are 4 more that I think are way better than him. I'm like a funnier version of Master Chaos with this outfit.
Oh man. So before we completely just dwindle down to nothingness, couple things I wanted to share. Thursday on my channel, I have Brad Henderson from Vinegar Syndrome coming on for Reconnected live Thursday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, and that show is going to be huge. He is going to be reacting to all the announcements of the week, including all of the Vinegar Syndrome announcements, all of the partner label announcements, all of the Scream Factory announcements, all of the random ass Kino Lorber announcements, everything. And then after we do all of those, we are going to have him around for a Q&A. He's got no heart out, so as long as people want to talk, he will be there with us live until the sun comes up. Other thing, I kind of hinted at. On my channel, I posted that my wife had surgery last week, and I was a little behind, so I couldn't post anything on Monday. I reposted the video with my kids from last August that I did, and that was a little hint that I did another video with them, and it's ridiculously funny. That's coming out tomorrow, and that's all I got. Anything you're excited to watch soon?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you were lagging out like crazy.
Did you do your number 5?
I did. I went first this week, remember? You are so far behind that it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Anything I'm excited.
Oh, the recording of this is going to be awful. Oh, how does this always happen? Yeah, Thursday is going to be incredible. Please come by. Trying to have as many people there as I can live. Brad is great and super knowledgeable. He has not been with Vinegar Syndrome since the beginning. He's been there for a long time, but he has done so many like acquisitions, chasing down random ass contributors so that he can do special features on things. He is incredibly knowledgeable. I cannot wait to see Northman. That is the next one that I'm forcing myself to see in theaters. Although I say that, my kid may force me to see Sonic 2. That is high on my kid's radar for sure. And the first Sonic was surprisingly good. And now that Jim Carrey is saying that this could be his last film, I mean, I really hope not. But yeah, if that's the case, probably got to see that in theaters. Stendhal says that's an awesome guest. I agree. Cannot wait. Hey, welcome back.
I'm back. What's up? Hey, at least it did this at the end of the episode. God, could you imagine me talking about something for trying to get that through? Would you ask me, am I excited to watch anything?
Yeah. Yeah. No, Ice brought up Northman is coming out at the end of this month.
Wait, I might have to.
There's a review embargo out for it, but all kinds of people are talking about it already, saying that it's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you expect anything less from that director?
No, but when there's a review embargo, usually no one says anything. But there's all kinds of people. They're not listing full-on written reviews, but they're saying like, dude, this is low-key going to be like one of the best of the year.
I can't wait to see it. I might actually have to go see it.
Stendhal, Sonic 2 actually came out a couple years ago. Or sorry, no, Sonic 1 came out a couple years ago. Sonic 2 is about to drop.
And it's going to be Jim Carrey's final movie.
I mentioned that while you were gone, yeah.
Thank God.
And it's going to have Knuckles and Tails.
Oh, man, all those great Sonic. So excited.
Did you see the first movie?
Yeah.
It's good. Sorry. How can you act so exasperated?
Sonic is just...
Flex, Batman 4K Blu-ray is coming out mid-May. I believe it's the 12th.
Doesn't it come out on HBO this month?
Yes. Let me see. I think that's a Tuesday. No. Okay, so I think it's... Now that I look at it, I think it's the 17th or the 24th. One of those two.
Damn, that's not that far away. Did you see Havoc got a new poster? And it looks great.
Yeah.
Still no trailer?
I'm hoping we get a trailer soon. And speaking of trailers, one of the weird things that I know you're not like MCU, like a lot of people, obviously, but
love it.
It's kind of weird that there is a Thor film planned to come out in 90 days, and there's still no trailer for it.
That is weird.
Sardis says, is it animated? The Sonic and Tails and Knuckles characters are CGI, but no, it is a live action film.
I love that the internet bullied that studio enough to reanimate the entire movie.
Yep. And
that original one was bad, dude. Could you imagine it? Oh my God, it was bad. Do you know there's a hardcore fandom of Sonic that I think almost buried? Yeah, yeah. Have you ever heard of who's that trans person that killed their mom? They were like a big Sonic fan. Sonic Chew. He was like a Sonic Pikachu hybrid that he made. Something Chandler.
I don't know what you're saying.
I'm sure someone here in the chat will know exactly who
I'm sure a couple of those things were words, but Flex, that should be the next. I would guess probably 2 weeks.
I'm not like terribly excited for to watch anything specifically. Christian, there you go. See, John knew exactly what I'm talking about. Christian, you've never heard of Christian?
Nope, I've heard of Christian.
they changed the wrist color on Sonic on the cover for one of the games, like the PS4 games. And he went to his local GameStop and was coloring the men and assaulting the workers. He's awesome, or she's awesome.
Holy role model, Batman.
He's he just got bullied on the internet, but he was like the internet days where like you could say whatever. Yeah, no one searched Chris Chan. It is a great. There's like an 18-hour documentary that I watched of Chris Chan. It's fantastic.
Jesus.
There's these like 12-year-old, 13-year-old boys were impersonating girls and having phone sex with them, or like but they were just recording him, and he's like, "Oh, Julia." Oh, dude, it's a great. Oh yeah, everyone, don't listen to John Stump. Listen to Filippo Paris.
I love that tonight we've talked about Filippo sucking on toes to him impersonating Chris Chan being involved in phone sex.
The Geno Samuel documentary is 60+ episodes long at this point. It's truly incredible. Yeah, like each is like almost an hour, 45 minutes each. They're great. Great. You should watch it. No, so Ryan, I want to know, since I watched 3 of your recommendations, when do I get the pick?
I've watched one. I've watched one.
How many episodes have we done? You watched 1. I watched like 10 of your recommendations.
Again, I vary my taste so much, and you don't.
Dude, I watched more non-Asian films this week than I think any week I've been alive.
And that's good. I am incredibly happy for you.
I watched fucking all the Olympus Has Fallen movies. Did you hear there's a White House Down came out the same year with Jamie Foxx and
isn't it? Wait, never mind. The Olympus Has Fallen is Morgan Freeman in that?
He's the vice president up until the 3rd one, then he is the full president.
Jeez.
It's Harvey Dent from the Dark Knight trilogy. Is the president.
Aaron Eckhart.
Yes. Oh no, Flip! I'm deep down in the Christian lore, but the unwrapped people here need to heed the warning. The
unwarped people. Unwrapped.
John, we need to start a Christian podcast where we dissect every episode. Discovering cinema after dark, and it's just me and John Stump.
The Christians.
No, Christianity does play a part in his life. We need Ryan's take on Baby Car at the River Styx. The people demand it, Ryan.
The person.
Guys, I want to see uppercase R's in the chat right now for everyone who wants to see his opinion.
I'm driving a tunnel.
I think, and I think your life would like it because it's such a fun movie. It's just fun. I'm waiting for the extended director's cut of Warhol's Empire. What is that? Is that a movie?
I don't know that one offhand either.
Andy
But
Warhol?
You know what I do want to know? Sardis said that he finished the 3rd season of The Shield. I want to know how he's liking it.
You know, Foo's not here today. It's his, him and his wife's anniversary. Happy anniversary to those two.
To Foo.
Flip, why is Discotech releasing another Cyber City 08 at Blu-ray? Because it's a classic and it can sell, and they're kind of dipping their toes in special editions like this. They did Angel Cop last year, and now they're doing Cyber City. So, just for the hell of it, why not? You got a title that's going to sell like crazy? You do a special edition? Why not?
I'm hoping they do something kind of crazy for Uzumaki.
I think it's going to be standard.
It looks like it. All the pictures they've shared is just a standard release.
Just standard release. Isn't it? Yeah, so that's the other thing too. Ice is right. It is a new restoration. So for those of you who don't know, Project A-ko, I don't know if you've ever heard of Project A-ko, Ryan, beloved anime series. The film wasn't available. So what they were going to do, they couldn't find the source. What they were going to do is they were going to take laser disc copies, and they someone had developed. This is brand new tech that they were going to use. That was going to be able to take the scan the actual laser disc itself, rip the video and audio from it, and they were going to restore it that way. But like halfway through that project, they found an entire vault of all the film for Project A-ko, Cyber City Ueda, all these movies. It's great. Did you watch that anime I got you?
Not yet, no.
Eric says, when is Violent Streets coming from Film Movement? I hope soon. Weird that they announced three Gosha films. Maybe a box set?
All we know is 2022. There's no date on that one yet.
Yeah, Samurai, Wolf 1 and 2, and then Violent Streets. Excited. Yeah, thanks for the guy from Animigo. Speaking of Animigo, I did watch Sword of Desperation, which is fucking great final 20 minutes.
Sardis says, enter Glenn Close. The show is really becoming twisted.
Oh, just you wait. Just you wait, brother. The end episode made me so sick to my stomach. I'm so upset. Fucking.
I agree.
What's his name? Walter Walter? Or is it
Walton?
Walton. Piece of shit in that show. Man, he's such a good actor because I love him and stuff, and then I hate him.
He's so great.
What anime
Flex
did
wants
Ryan
to know,
get?
what anime did you get me?
Sword of the Stranger, and I still need to ship him out Afro Samurai. So, hey, we were just talking about you, Fu.
We just said happy anniversary.
He's had a busy night. I bet you he was sucking.
He got a facial earlier.
Whoa! He did? Did he post that on Instagram?
On Twitter, he said he was getting a facial, but I meant that as a double entendre.
Not from me, Sean. How dare you? I pre-ordered Megazone 23, says Eric Disney Code. It's fucking awesome. It's really good. Really fucking good. Great show. I would also suggest getting Bubblegum Crisis if you don't have that. Pure 90s cyber. So good. Does the blue look good for Sword of Desperation, says Ice? Yes, it does. It actually is a noticeable difference. I hope that sold well enough for them to continue to do that, because he said that was a test run. But he's also not marketing it at all. So it's no special features either. So sucks. But look, opinion on Legend of the Galactic Heroes. The greatest space story, the greatest sci-fi story ever told. Period. It's long and it's very dialogue heavy. It's very politics, very heavy on the politics. Lots of characters to keep track of, but if you stick with it, it is one of the most rewarding watches I've ever experienced. It's 120 plus episodes that also include movies and OVAs. It's long. But it's great. That box set is out of print. Expensive. It was $800 when it was in print. Did you hear what I said? A box set of a show was $800 when it was in print, when it was available.
We talked about
now
this
it's like $1,500. Stupid. People are stupid. The anime or the OVA? No, the OVA. I have a DVD copy. I don't think it ever got I don't ever think it ever got re-released. And Sword of the Stranger is a great anime. Not only a great anime, one of the best animated movies of all time. So, I think that's a good movie for you and the kids to watch. If they can handle a little bit of blood, a little bit.
I mean, I showed my kids Jurassic Park.
That's not. I mean, that's not. That's a kids movie.
They show a T-Rex chomping on some dude.
That's true. I showed Brigida a clip of the T-Rex, and she was like, "That's scary." I was like,
my kid asked this over the weekend, when can we watch Star Wars? And I was like, fine, I'll put it on. I put on episode 4 to start with him, and about maybe like 40% of the way through, he started to almost fall asleep.
That's a smart kid. That's a smart kid. That's a terrible. Do you think anime quality significantly improves with Blu-ray? Yes, depending on the remaster. A lot of the older stuff, 100%, because a lot of the older stuff is legitimate film. So yeah, but a lot of the newer shows are all digital. So I would say not really, but then again, most of the shows are only getting Blu-ray releases, the newer ones. But the older ones, when they like when Discotek does a remaster of something, I think it looks great. Yeah, that Project Echo Blu-ray looks incredible. I know Justin was telling me that the film quality was 8K. They had so much to work with. Great, freaking great release. Ryan, maybe try animated stuff like Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, he would probably like Clone Wars quite a bit. But
maybe he's just a smart kid that doesn't like Star Wars.
I mean, a part of it could be that we don't watch a ton of sci-fi stuff because I don't. I like genuine sci-fi. I don't like the Star Wars type sci-fi. I also really don't like fantasy, and a lot of people hate me for that. But yeah.
Did you watch Moon Knight?
No.
I could give. This is how many fucks I could give.
I am many whole Marvel shows behind.
I haven't seen any. I haven't seen.
I've only watched
black and white one.
I've only watched WandaVision.
I haven't seen that. The only show I've watched from Disney is like The Mandalorian, and I watched Boba Fett. Robert Rodriguez.
How you don't like Star Wars?
I like the Mandalorian. So here's the thing.
Yes, the Tex Avery animation is freaking incredible on Blu-ray.
So if you pick up the new Mill Creek Ultraman releases that come out today, I haven't picked up the last handful. I haven't picked up any of the ones that were on DVD. It's weird how that license works because they were putting out really nice Blu-rays and they were all uniformed, and then they switched to DVD for like 3 series, even though those 3 series have Blu-rays in Japan. So I just kind of dipped out there. I'm not a big fan of some of that later stuff either. My favorite series. So.
And you were lagging again. Stendhal says, is anybody actually burnt out on the MCU stuff yet? I think a lot of people are.
I've been burnt out for since it started. Can you hear me?
Yeah, kind of. Your video is very far behind.
All right, do you want to go and wrap it up for the night then?
Sure thing. Why not? Appreciate you guys all hanging out. Again, remember, live show Thursday night is going to be huge. Please be there. Next Tuesday, we may do another episode before we continue the director series, but if not, we're probably only going to be doing 2 for the next one. Whether that's next week or the week after that, we'll be doing 4 and 3.
Or we do 4 through 3. No, 4 through 2. And then leave it one by itself. Separate episode. Leave it on clip. Because I think it's going to shock some people what we do with our list.
And we'll see. Either way, it'll be at least 2 more episodes that we do the director stuff. But we might be doing a different show next week. Thanks for hanging out. If you guys leave comments below, we'll get back to you. Thanks for everything.